Hello and welcome along to the channel. So what watch would you buy if something like a Helm Vanuatu was a little bit too big for your wrist? Well, this is exactly the problem I encountered with the Helm. The watches that I'm looking at today offer a similarly well-priced, tool-tastic feel, but perhaps something that is more suitable for smaller wrists, or at least those who might have a particularly bony wrist like I do, and then I tend to struggle with larger cases. It's still 41mm in diameter, but it wears quite compact across the lugs, which is great to see. Now, these watches are hand assembled in Canada by JP, the brand owner of Noctua watches. That is Noctua with an N, not Hawktua with a H. Very different things. And whilst they might be a very small brand, I think they're worth checking out and definitely worth keeping an eye on for the future. So two watches today on the table from Noctua, and I'll alternate between the two, but I'll focus more on the one with the rotating bezel rather than the fixed bezel, because I think this is probably going to be a little bit more of interest to most people. So when I look at this watch, I obviously see a Purposeful tool watch, and I see a lot of Zinn in this. It looks to me a bit like a 556 with the dial and the handset, and then almost like it has a variation of the countdown bezel similar to a Zinn 104, although the numerals are different on this. And that's no bad thing. I mean, Zinn make excellent Purposeful tool watches, so it's a complementary comparison. And of course there's plenty of differences as well. Looking at specs, sizes, dimensions, all that good stuff, this one is 41.5mm across the case, and the bezel sits at 41mm. It wears really nicely. It's 46mm lug to lug, and those are downturned as well, so no issues with these ones for smaller wrists despite being a 41. 300 meters of water resistant. I don't know how much of that is pressure tested, but I did see the testing equipment on JP, the brand owner's bench, so I'm assuming at the very least there is some kind of pressurized leak check. The watch is 13mm thick, and that includes this great piece of sapphire with a nice blue AR coating at extreme angles. And behind the screw down case back is the trusty favourite old workhorse, the Seiko NH35. This watch has a very interesting matte finish on it, and this is bead blasted. So the only other watch I have in my collection which is even remotely similar is a Laco, which I recently acquired. And although there's a huge price difference between these two watches, actually the Noctua does a very good job for the money, and the finishing is really nice, very consistent, and not particularly easy to scratch. I haven't babied this watch at all. We can look a little bit closer at the dial, but you're not going to be seeing anything extra, as this watch is highly legible, all angles, all distances. It is the polar opposite of the watch that I reviewed last week, the Anacorn. So legibility is good, and that goes for daytime or nighttime. The lume is really good on this watch. It doesn't quite rival the very best like my Lume Champion, but it's definitely not a million miles off, so good job on that one. I know from speaking to JP, the brand owner, that he's very meticulous when the watches are being assembled, all of which are done by him on his workbench. And he's meticulous about things like FOD and dust and debris, any marks under the crystal, anything you're going to see under the dial. I'm extremely fussy about this as well, and it's nice to know that there's nothing to see on this one. The QC is perfect, and that's because this really is a product of someone's passion and love for their own watches. Now, in terms of price, for what you get with this, I think it is good value. I'll put the prices on the screen. You have to bear in mind that these are not mass produced, therefore the parts are not bought in huge numbers, and therefore the cost of the parts per unit is going to be more expensive than that of a mass produced watch that's assembled in a factory in Shenzhen by the hundreds, if not the thousands. But if you are looking for a tool watch and you value the delicate and careful hand assembly of a dedicated brand owner like JP right here in Canada, then I think it's really good, especially when you look at the prices of some of the Seiko builders out there, and then take into consideration the quality that you're getting with these watches. Let me give you an example. The bezel action on this is absolutely lovely. I love dampened bezels, so they tend to have the O-ring on the inside and they're a little bit softer, kind of more like a Seiko style, and this one is exactly that, and it's very nice, and of course everything lines up. The crystal on this really is top tier. That makes a huge difference. It's a real high quality crystal. The clarity is excellent, and that little dab of blue AR is just a nice little addition. There are no sharp edges whatsoever on this watch. Everything is very smooth, which is great for comfort. There's drilled lugs in the case for convenience. The bezel is super easy to grip as well. It has a very chunky and purposeful knurling. And overall, the quality of the head of this watch certainly rivals some of the top tier micro brands that would be sitting around the same price. Just a quick pause from today's video to ask that if you're enjoying the video, please don't hesitate to like, subscribe to the channel, and most importantly to hit that bell notification icon. Anyway, back to Noctua. I haven't shown you the bracelet yet, so let's have a quick look at that. So the style is rather familiar, but it does have that nice bead blasted finish on it. Clasp has 3 holes of micro adjustment and is a milled inner and pressed outer with a keeper. There are screw pins on the bracelet, and JP has supplied me the bracelet and the rubber for this particular watch. Crown has the same finishing but is not signed on this one. Case back is screw down, also bead blasted, and is finished with, I think, a stamped logo and model number there. So I've really enjoyed my time wearing this watch, but it isn't perfect. Let's just summarize quickly on the pros. So I mean, the watch head is really fantastic. Some great quality parts here. It feels excellent. It's flawless under macro. It's highly legible. It is an excellent tool watch. One of the other nice things about buying a watch through Noctua is that you can customize things. So if there's something you might want to change, for example, the chapter ring, I would rather it was plain black on this model rather than the Japanese style that you see here. You can specify that. If you prefer the fixed bezel, you can have the fixed bezel. So that's one of the benefits of this business model from the customer perspective. And I can vouch for JP. He's a great guy. He's very easy to deal with, and he cares a lot about every customer. But there are some drawbacks with this watch as received, and some areas where I think I can imagine some added value to the brand. The first thing is I hate the rubber strap. It's this really cheap, horrible, nasty rubber that just is like a magnet for dust. It has screws on the underside where it clips and unclips from the spring bars. I don't really see the point of this because most people are swapping straps a lot of the time now with spring bars included, so i.e. with quick release. They feel like incredibly cheap and nasty smartwatch rubber that you would buy on Amazon for a few bucks, and it doesn't at all match with the head of the watch, which is very premium. It completely clashes in my opinion. I'd love to see some nice fitted FKM on this. I think it would look really, really good. And that was exactly what my friend from Canada Watch Club said as well. So the outer clasp on this I don't like. It's pressed and there's no quick adjust. Generally speaking, the prices of clasps have come down now because so many manufacturers are mass producing good quality milled clasps with the quick adjust built in. So I think that's an easy upgrade to achieve. My next point is, I guess, more for consideration, but at this price point, people tend to look more towards a Miyota 9 series than a Seiko NH35. Now, I don't believe, probably, that JP could sell it at this price with the cost of the components for him with a Miyota 9 series. However, I think if this watch was $100 to $150 more expensive with a milled outer clasp and a Miyota 9 series, I think that value added makes it a more compelling proposition in the price range that this watch sits within. And my final criticism of this watch is the screw pins are awful. I've had experiences with these before, and every single time it's always a bad experience. These are the sort of screw pins that have these spring-loaded tips, and then you have the bar kind of below them, and they wiggle around a little bit. And when they get stuck, you're so much at risk of just breaking their head off, and then the bar is left behind. And I've had this happen before, and they're just a really bad design. Honestly, I'd rather have pin and collar over this type of screw pin. So it feels kind of easy to summarize with this watch. Basically, the really, really good part of the watch is the head of the watch. The mediocre part is the bracelet, and the terrible part is the rubber strap. I mean, it's a good thing that the worst part is the easiest thing to fix and get rid of, but I think JP is doing his watches a disservice with this rubber. So in conclusion, I think JP's done something very smart. He's started a brand on a budget the way that I should have when I was going to start my own watch brand, which is knowing that perhaps the funds aren't there to go into a full mass production, totally original piece, to instead use the skills that he has of assembling watches on his bench, putting in custom parts, and creating a watch of excellent quality for a competitive price, considering the hand assembly right here in Canada. I'm very excited to see where the brand goes in the future. Will it stay as these hand assembled, customizable, and very well made pieces, or will he instead search for a supplier and scale up the operation and then take benefit from lower cost of parts and even more customization options for his designs? One thing incredibly valuable for the brand is the fact that it has a great logo, and that's something that takes many brands years and they still don't get it right. So it's a great logo, but looking on the website, my friend from Canada Watch Club also pointed out, and I agree with him, the pictures of the watches on the Noctua website do not do them justice. So please, JP, get some professional photographs done of these watches. They really do look a lot better in person and on my camera than I think they do on your website. It really undersells them. That and those horrible rubber straps. But anyway, I do genuinely recommend these watches. The rubber strap is easy to chuck in the bin and replace yourself, and everything else is really good, and just a couple of small areas where I think you could take it to the next level. But at the price they are today and what you're getting, I recommend these watches. Let me know in the comments what you think about Noctua watches, and if there's any comments from JP, I will be sure to pin them to the top. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.